Welcome to art. Yeah, welcome to art. Welcome to art. Welcome to art. We're going to use these spheres we learned about drawing last week to make a cool little holiday picture. I'm going to give you some options, okay? You can do one of two things, or if you have your own idea, that's cool too. I'm open to that. But I'm going to be using my oil pastels today. But if you remember in the video last week, I showed several ways to do this. So if you'd rather use a different material, totally fine. Don't worry about it. It'll work out in the end. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show two different things we can do with our spheres that would look really cool. And like I said, if you want to try a different one, that's fine. But one option is if you want it to be more of a wintry picture instead of a Christmassy picture, we could make a snowman out of our spheres that would look really cool. I want to do a more unusual perspective of my snowman. You might know the word perspective means your way of looking at something. We were talking about perspective drawings before. So I want my snowman, instead of the classic like circle, 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 I want it to look like I'm looking up at him, which might be kind of cool. So I'm going to start with one little sphere on the bottom like this, and it's going off the page of it. And then I'm going to do my next smaller one coming off of that one, and then I'm going to do my head coming off of that one. So instead of drawing circles, I drew one coming off the page, one going like that, that's partially covered by that bigger one, and then one partially covered by the medium one. So I got do. Okay? And then using some of the skills we talked about last week, you can make this look more 3D by putting a little value, a little shading in on those little edges. So maybe I'll kind of put some shadowing around like this, which would look really cool. I could even use my white oil pastel to kind of blend over a little more. And in doing so, my snowman's shape is already becoming pretty established. He's looking pretty good. I can take my finger, I'm holding my paper tight so I don't wrinkle it up like I almost just did. But I'm taking my finger and I can smear and smooth some of those little areas so that my snowballs begin to get some form and look 3D instead of being just little classic circles like maybe most snowmen and snowwomen you may have drawn before. Let's see how that gets it that cool 3D look, like it's kind of coming upward. I could even get a darker color like this purple for some of the more intense shadows in between. Take my finger, smear it in, and it's gonna start to look really, really cool. Okay? So option one is if you wanted to make more of a snowman, we could start like this. Okay? Sphere, 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 smooth, 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 looking cool. Option number two is we could take this and we could make some cool little ornaments. Some of you mentioned how these spheres would make great little orb Christmas ornaments. So I could start with a circle, the best circle I can manage. I can, and when I'm shading it in, I want to leave a spot of white, okay? So I could lightly shade in most of my sphere while leaving one part totally white, and then I could do some darker shading on the little 3D part like we talked about, the little shaded, shadowy part, kind of like this. And then with my finger, I can start smoothing it out. Smoothing it out. Like so. That looks cool. I could get my darker color, like this purple if I wanted to put a little darker area near the bottom, just so it looks even better. I could get my white. Let's start smoothing out like almost a circle at the top part. With my finger, I'll blend in some of that dark so it doesn't look so drastic. And you can see I've got a really cool ornament look. I could put a little block at the top for where the little part's going to hang. Maybe I'll put some darker areas on the sides. Like that. And I have my little ornament that's going to hang from a tree, like so. Maybe I'll put a smaller ornament down here, so I have more than one. And I want to do it the same way. I'm going to draw a circle. I'll lightly shade in most of it. I'll put the darker part looping across the bottom. I'll take my finger, which has some red on it from me smearing before, but that's probably okay. Smear that in. Get my purpley for the shadowy part. It's cool, the purple actually worked well with the red and with the blue. You could use a black oil pastel, but they are so powerful. Black will overtake almost anything you're doing, so be gentle and careful if you choose to use a black. And maybe I'll put a little purple little thing right there. And this is where my little hooks will go on my branches. I'm going to show you next week some really cool ways to do branches, or to add finishing touches if you chose to do a snowman, or if you had a totally different idea. I'm excited to see what that was. All right, so think about which way you want to go with this project. Messy fingers and all. And then let me see what you did by posting it on to Google Classroom. I cannot wait to see which route you take. All right, guys, I'll see you next week, and we'll finish these bad boys up.